Hey, we have new drama out of the bombshell commission lawsuits in Kansas City. Let's cut to the story. It is great. It is great. This is going to be a great episode of Real Estate News. Trust me, this is going to be a great episode of Real Estate News. By the way, I'm Jack Gately from Jack Gately Real Estate in the Online Real Estate Academy. Let's cut to Inman for the drama. Oh, let me size this up a little bit better for you. There you go. Tom Ferry podcast delivers fresh drama at Stitzer Burnett trial. Plaintiff's attorney Michael Ketchmark played a video of a Tom Ferry interview with Alan Dalton of Berkshire Hathaway that drew objections and threatened to derail the proceedings. Wow, what happened? Defendants in the class action trial, thank you, Inman, by the way, for this story, challenging the practice of requiring home sellers to pay buyer agent commissions, protested to the court Tuesday afternoon after an attorney showed the jury a video in which a Berkshire Hathaway executive compared cutting commissions to performing sex work. Yeah, wow, that is spicy, isn't it? That's why Julia Roberts is in the video thumbnail for this episode of Real Estate News. The attorney for home services suggested that any decision rendered by the jury could be reversed by appeals because of how unfairly damaging seeing the alleged video or the video allegedly was. That's something I don't get about court cases where somebody says, oh, this is prejudicial, you can't show it to the jury. Isn't the whole point of a trial is to show evidence that makes your case? But the big point here, and we're going to get to this later, is that this video was not presented as part of the discovery process. So it was kind of a surprise that it was shown during the trial to the jury. We're going to get into the drama on that. But before we do that, let's play this video from a 2019 podcast. So this is after the lawsuit has been fired, and this interchange with Mr. Dalton and Tom Ferry, I think you all know who Tom Ferry is, comes at the very end of this podcast video. If you want to pull it up, at the 45-minute mark of what is basically a 50-minute podcast episode, the Tom Ferry podcast experience. And let's just play it for you now. It is priceless. Here we go here. That's Mr. Ferry, and on the other side will be Mr. Dalton. And here we go. Let's play it.
I'm going to give your audience the most effective commission-cutting objection handling technique in the history of the industry.
Waits for the end to give us the most
because
effective commission-cutting.
We have to be concerned about compression of fees, okay?
Ooh, right off of there, you have to be concerned about the compression of fees. That starts to sound as if, like, this is our policy because we're afraid of making less money.
1,000%. Give it to us.
Now, I have to be very careful because as CEO of Real Living and Senior Vice President of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
So this is like a big shot at Berkshire Hathaway. This is not some office manager in the back office back in Peoria. He's like big shot at Berkshire Hathaway.
I have a sacred responsibility to represent the brands in the most professional.
This is a legal disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen.
But I've said this at our events, but I asked the audience, first of all, the technique.
So he's shared this story before at his events for his company.
Is profanity laced, but I'm not going to use any of the swear words because I'm not going to end my career today. So I'm going to give the technique that this top producer and one of the top producers in the country makes about $2 million a year has been using for 40 years. But I'm going to bleep out the profanity. But this is the only technique that I know works every time. And so she was in my office. I was president of the company. And she says, Alan, this person wants me.
Here it comes.
To throw in $10,000 at the closing. Can I use your office? Now, in the history of my company, this is a fact. I never said a curse word. We didn't have that culture. When I played ball, I would. But never professionally or in my home.
Wasn't your thing.
But here's a technique. I'm going to turn to your audience. I'm going to give you a technique. You might want to write this down if you have your iPhone. And here's a technique. There's no bleeping way I'm going to cut my bleeping commission. What do you think? I'm a bleeping hooker standing outside the Lincoln Tunnel at 3 o'clock in the morning, giving bleepings to sailors? If you think I'm going to cut my bleeping commission, you can take this home and shove it up your bleeping, and I know that it will fit, right? Did you everyone get that? Now, after she finished, I went into the office, and I'll change your name to Susan.
Yes.
I said, Susan, E&O is not going to cover this.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think E&O is going to cover that. That is correct. I don't think E&O is going to cover that. Oh my God, that is, I guess that is prejudicial to their case, right? Because that makes it look as if they never cut commissions. Now, understand that the client was looking for a last-minute commission cut just prior to closing. It's not as if they were negotiating the commission in the beginning before they signed the listing agreement or the exclusive right to represent agreement. They're looking for a last-minute commission cut. And, you know, I kind of agree with that policy. I mean, you had a contract, you performed on the contract, and they're asking for a last-minute commission cut. I'm not comfortable with giving you a last-minute commission cut. I would also say no, but I would say it in a much nicer way, just like we have a contract. I lived up to my side of the contract. Now it's your time to live up to your side. But this also seems to be further evidence that there's a conspiracy. It certainly looks bad. Remember, the people that are judging this are regular, everyday people. They're not real estate agents. And Inman did a profile on them. One's a school teacher. One was a school psychologist. Excuse me. Those are the plaintiffs, I should say. The plaintiffs are a school teacher, school psychologist, cop, and somebody who runs a small business, I think. But they're very, like, how do I want to say this? Likable plaintiffs. And this makes the defendants very unlikable. And the jury are just regular people that are not real estate professionals. So this is kind of like, and it really is just, you want to throw a comment here. This could be prejudicial because, again, the defendants didn't know that Michael Ketchmark was going to play this. He's the attorney for the plaintiffs. He was going to play it before he actually played it. So bombshell drama in Kansas City. This happened when they called Berkshire Hathaway former executive Ron Pelletier. And he played a video of the Tom Ferry podcast, which we just discussed and showed to you. So, wow. I'm just like shocked that they would play that and not give the other side a heads up, because it definitely seems as if, and the attorneys didn't miss a beat on this, as if they're setting up an opportunity for NAR and the other defendants to wiggle out of this on appeal. The judge in the case, after he dismissed the jury for the day, heard from Timothy Ray, an attorney representing Keller Williams, who said that the video was not admitted as a trial exhibit and the defendants had not previously seen it. And, you know, I'm no attorney, right? I was too smart to go to law school, but I do understand the basic idea of discovery, which is, this is all the evidence I'm going to present at trial. You show me all the evidence that you're going to present at trial. And therefore, when we go to trial, there's no surprises. I'm basically understand what you're going to show the jury, and you understand what I'm going to show the jury, and we're going to let the jury decide. There theoretically should be no surprises in terms of the evidence. And certainly this is a video from 2019, so it's not like something that just happened that would be somehow relevant. He also complained to the judge that Ketchmark brought up an Inman article to the jury about NAR's decision to change its interpretation of the primary rule at issue in the case, and that it was completely inappropriate and highly prejudicial to do to us. Mr. Ketchmark knows better. That's how attorneys talk when they are mad at each other. Mr. Ketchmark knows better. What article are they talking? They're talking about this article, which I've referenced many times. In sudden reversal, NAR says listing brokers can offer 0%. Because forever, NAR said, oh, no, you can't offer 0%. Until like 2.5, 3 weeks ago when they said, oh, yeah, you could do that. Remember, the rule was you always had to offer at least a buck, at least $1. Now they said, oh, you could 0%'s an offer. So they basically caved on the fundamental principle of the trial, and they didn't want the jury to know that they fundamentally caved on the issue that's a principle in the trial, because they've fundamentally caved. So really what this trial is all about at this point is how much NAR and the other defendants may or may not have to pay, and potentially, and I do think this is a extremely slim chance, the way I'm feeling about it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that the judge would actually ban on a nationwide basis the seller from paying any buyer side commission, because the plaintiffs have asked the judge to make that ruling as part of the court proceeding. But I just can't picture the judge in this case going so far as to ban the seller from paying buyer side commissions. I just think that that's more of a regulatory function that might come from a Department of Justice case and or the FTC. I just don't see it coming from this kind of civil case between the parties on a nationwide basis. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, not a lawyer, too smart to have gone to law school. But a bombshell for sure in the bombshell commission lawsuits. And the attorneys are not getting along. So Mr. Ray claimed that this had a cumulative effect, and it's increasingly difficult for the defendants to get a fair trial. They are laying the groundwork for an appeal or even a dismissal. Remember, Berkshire Hathaway, what was that, on Monday, I think? They already moved for a dismissal of the case against Berkshire Hathaway. So the judge has not ruled on that. But maybe the judge will rule in favor of that motion, given what might be considered a prejudicial piece of evidence coming into without notice. We have a specific concerns about what Mr. Ketchmark did, and it wasn't an honoring the discovery obligations by producing the video earlier. McGill noted that in the Eighth Circuit of Appeals had reversed a decision for similar conduct. He thought a minimum that the Dalton video should be stricken for its prejudice to us. So at the minimum, the defendants are asking for the judge to tell the jury to ignore it. You've probably seen this on some episode of Law and Order. Yeah, everyone's watched Law and Order. Sure you have. So, something comes into evidence and then the judge says, well, you've got to ignore that testimony. You've got to ignore that testimony. So we'll see that it's getting a little bit more dramatic. Yeah, because the court case had become kind of boring, like literally a little bit boring, and a little, stuff that people are, that I don't think the jury's going to care about, and stuff that it was boring, but not anymore. It's spicy now. So we'll see if this impacts a potential dismissal or a potential appeal. So the other day on Twitter, I'm looking at this stream, and up comes this tweet about this house in California that is being marketed on Zillow as an inactive meth lab, And I'm like, no, this has got to be like some type of photoshopped joke or something like that. And so I pulled up the address on Zillow, and it's not a photoshopped joke. It's not a photoshopped joke. It's a real listing. And not only that, it just went up in price. It's a $1.55 million home in San Jose, 668 Potomac Court, San Jose. Do you know the way? So I know this is crazy, and I have some photos. At one point on Zillow, it was actually tagged with the inactive meth lab tag. You see it in the blue right there in the middle? So you can't make this stuff up. Great opportunity to own a large home on a large 6,000 square foot lot, which probably is big for San Jose, I guess. Great location to freeway, FHA loan option. Home is an inactive meth lab and meth contamination. See county docs, noting the garage location, remediation process, and subsequent costs associated. Home has not been cleared of contamination and will be transferred to the new buyer in its current state. Yeah, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I don't know what that's there for. All right, so here it is here. So I went on Google Maps to find out about the house and the neighborhood, and here's the house. Here's the house. And I don't know, I'm going to zoom in here. You see in the garage, they cut a hole in the garage, and they put a ventilation fan in the garage, right in the garage wall. Or door, I should say. And you can see then it's sealed up with some silver tape on the out. You see that? And then I was like, what type of neighborhood is this? And I went around. Look at this. Is a nice neighborhood. This is a really nice neighborhood. And they're cooking meth in this house. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. This is like a total Walter White situation going on here. Right? This is Walter White's house in Albuquerque, the ABQ. Owners are breaking house to build fence around property because there's so many tourists going there and taking selfies outside the house, which I have to admit I'm guilty of. My son and I last year, we drove through Albuquerque on the way to Arizona, so we pulled over and went to some of the Breaking Bad sites. We went to the car wash and the big cleaners, and then we drove by the Breaking Bad house. And they put so much crap outside the house, it's not worth taking a photo at anymore. So this house is still for sale on Zillow, And you can see that it's all boarded up right now, and there's a fence around it. I feel really awful for the neighbors. And originally, I thought that this was some type of marketing gimmick to sell the house, get more attention. You know how sometimes people do that to get more attention for a listing. I thought it was a really creative way to get attention. But then I was like, no, this is legit. So, but there is, since we're talking about California, there is something going on in California. And this tweet was very, very interesting. In the San Francisco real estate market, and San Jose is just south of San Francisco, as you know. Take a look at this house. In 2015, the owner purchased the property for $1.4 million, 27% above asking price. Now, 8 years later, the property is listed for $1.1, 22% what the owner paid for it. This homeowner now has negative equity, which is growing trend. 1.2 million homeowners in the United States have negative equity. Now, I would like to see like a chart about whether that's up or down, but it has been a tale of two coasts, really, for the equity situation, which we've mentioned and a lot of other people have covered. And you can see in this tweet here, that we have a lot of equity being lost on the West Coast. California down $60,000. Average home lost $60,000 in equity. And the strength in the real estate part, I did talk to my friend that does business down in Myrtle Beach, but South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, very strong. Maine continues to be strong because it's the number one place people from Massachusetts move to. I was surprised to see New Mexico up, but mostly the western part of the country, a complete disaster. So we do have a couple of comments here. Let's pull up these comments and see what they are. Let's see here. We're gonna somehow it's not working. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Rob says, I hope the ruling changes the MLS rules to prominently display the listing agent contact information. Yeah, that's a really good question. Somebody else asked that question the other day. Why can't you, as part of your listing, prominently mention the listing agent information, right? Because right now, all of the rules prohibit photos of the individual, photos of the sign, all the stuff that would prominently list the listing agent. You're right. That is true. They don't want any personal branding in the MLS rules, which I'm like, yeah, totally agree with you. Absolutely. To give more leverage to the seller's agent. Great question, Rob. If the MLS allows showing LA listing agent contact information at the top of the listing, and once a few agents start listing with 0% buyer's agent commission, I think buyer agent commission will organically go away in a matter of months, even without making buyer agent commission illegal. Oh, Rob, great point. And again, I think this could move to something where it's a fluid situation based upon the market conditions. Because to kind of follow up your point, Rob, right now we're in predominantly a seller's market, right? And everyone's thinking that why pay a buyer's agent? But if we could transport ourselves back a decade, when there were tons of houses for sale and hardly any buyers, in that situation, you might want to pay your buyer's agent. See what I'm saying? So, again, to give an analogy, I think this could end up to be a situation where it's fluid based upon market conditions, or it's going to go to something where there's an outright ban, in which case, Rob, I think your theory where dual agency or listing agency becomes much, much stronger. And by ban, I mean that there would be a ban either from this judge, the FTC, or some type of Department of Justice action that would ban the seller from paying the buyer agent at all. And that does seem to be a progression that we're headed at, right? Does seem to be a progression. Great point, Al. Rob, thank you so much for that. Let's talk a little bit about Redfin and California, since we're on that topic of California. Redfin and what is this? When I first read it, I was like, is this about Remax? No. So I think they could have done better to rename it. But there's a new comp plan at Redfin. It's called Redfin Max. And it's going to be for Los Angeles and San Francisco agents to begin with. And it's a richer commission split. We want to set up agents to be $1 million producers and remain W-2 employees. That's the strategy. So Redfin announced today that it's making a major change to its plan for agents in San Francisco and California, two of the priciest housing markets in the country. Starting January 1, agents in those markets will move away from Redfin's base salary and bonus model to a more typical commission structure that rewards agents who bring in their own business. Dubbed Redfin Max. See, I said Remax again. I think they could have done better with the branding here on the comp plan. The new model, or is it just me? The new model works like this: agents who work on their own deals and clients can earn up to 75% commission split, while they would otherwise get 40% for company deals. These lead agents, as Redfin calls them, will remain W-2 employees and have the typical full-time benefits such as healthcare, blah, 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 all that other good stuff. You see, one of the problems is with Redfin is they're dying on the vine in a low-volume marketplace. In a low-volume marketplace, a discount brokerage has trouble, right? If you listen to what Glenn Kelman's been saying, he's basically been projecting the fact that they're struggling. We've covered this on this channel, and now they're saying, oh, how do we retain agents that have promise? Because to be fair, working at Redfin is kind of real estate for beginners, right? It's not a bad place to go and get your feet wet and learn the process, make some mistakes. It's kind of like the minor leagues, not to be offensive, but it's kind of like the minor leagues, right? And the thing is that Redfin is finally, some small percentage of their agents end up to be superstars, right? And some small percentage of them. And Redfin's like, how do we keep you? How do we keep you? Especially in a situation where there's low volume. Because previously they were like, okay, we just, you've graduated, basically. Off you go to Century 21 or Caldwell Banker or whatever. But now Redfin is like desperate for the deals. And so now they're changing their comp plan. And they've been changing. This has been a long time in the coming for that. Thank you, Rob, by the way, for your comments. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thumbs up to you as well. So if you're in LA or San Francisco, I guess if you're a Redfin employee, you have the opportunity to get a better comp plan for yourself. But isn't that the way? I mean, this is a lead generation business. It always has been. If you can generate the leads from whatever way you do that, you can write your own ticket. Is that the phrase? Write your own ticket. If you make it rain with leads, you can basically establish your own comp plan, right? You can go into business for yourself if you want to, which I strongly recommend. But if you're dependent upon leads to be handed out to you like a animal feeding at the trough, like a piece, like cattle, then you're just an order taker. And right now in this low volume market, there's not a lot of space for order takers, is there? You've got to develop a lead generation system, whether you're paying for that or you're creating your own individual content, which I'm a big proponent of. Whatever you happen to be doing, it's creating leads. That's how agents can be successful. So I was looking at this email from 1000 Watt. Many of you might know 1000 Watt. They're an outstanding, how do I want to say this, marketing outfit. And I got an email from them the other day, which really pissed me off a little bit. So here it is here. They did a survey of 1,000 agents. What is the number one thing you value or want from your broker or team in terms of marketing support? And the number one thing agents wanted, 35% of agents wanted staff to be marketing coordinators or social media coordinators. And I'm just going to say that you 35% of people who wanted the agency to do this for you are out of your minds. It's your job to be your own social media marketing coordinator. None of us are Taylor Swift that has an army of these people, right? None of us are some Hollywood celebrity that has an army of these people. All of these tools are basically available to all of us. So you want to, 35% of agents want to farm out the most important thing, which is creating social media content. In other words, they want more meaningless, agency-developed, flavorless, personality-less infographics that nobody cares about. What agents don't understand is they've got to develop their own content. Or you can go buy attention if you want to. Go do that if you want to. But stop looking for your brokerage to produce that content for you when it should be like 90% of what you're doing should be producing content if you're not buying attention. And the fact that 35% of agents want their brokerage to do that for them, they're totally misunderstanding the opportunity that's before you in 2023, 2024. All right, rant over. Today, we have new home sales coming in at 10 o'clock. I was going to go live again at 10 o'clock to cover that, but I'm super busy this morning. I cannot do that. Tomorrow, we have GDP. Now, I think this GDP number is going to be very, very important because it's expected to be at 4.7, I think. And I saw another estimate at 4.3. That would be super hot. That would be more argument that the economy is running super hot. The Fed might have to hike again. Now, I don't think, and nobody really thinks that the Fed's going to hike in November. I think the market is saying 1.5% chance they're going to hike in November. Nobody believes they're going to hike in November. But if the GDP comes in anywhere close to where, sorry about that, and trying to run a business here, as you know, anywhere close to this 4 something number, where last quarter it was 2.1. Ooh, wow. What that is very, very interesting. Also tomorrow, pending home sales, and then PCE on Friday. So we'll cover all of that data in tomorrow's show. Let's take a quick look at the Treasury. Oh, look at that. It's kind of getting closer to 4.9 again. Getting a little bit closer to 4.9. You know, my sense on this is I think it's going to go above 5. I know we had this little pullback because of the whole Bill Ackman covering the short kind of market manipulation situation, allegedly. But I do think, you look at the trend. I mean, just look at that. Does this look like it's going to reverse? No, you're going to have to show me a series of lower lows to show that this trend is going to go back in the other direction. I just don't see it. Just don't see it. People are canceling some of their new home orders. New home order cancellation rate for Pulte in Q3, only 15%. That is a lot better than the year-over-year number, the 24% cancellation in Q3 of last year, 32% cancellation in Q4 of last year, 15%, if you look at this chart going back a couple of years, kind of looks like the average. The average. What home builders are doing in terms of keeping customers and moving product are better mortgage rates. They're offering 5.75 as a mortgage rate. Now that's starting to become expensive as interest rates have poked close to 8. I think now we're at 7.9 for very good credit, according to Mortgage News Daily. But what they're doing is they're saying basically what car dealers have done for a really long time. We'll get you into this Ford Mustang. We'll sign you up with Ford credit at 2%, and you buy the car, which moves the product. And home builders are doing the same thing. Existing home sellers don't have that advantage, although some buyers are now taking advantage of adjustable rate mortgages. Demand hitting a highest level in nearly a year for adjustable rate mortgages. So I was kind of curious, what is the rate that you're getting for an adjustable rate mortgage? The average contract interest for an ARM is somewhere between 6.5 to 7 for a 5/1 ARM. I was like, that is quite a gamble for a 5/1 ARM. I don't know if I would take that gamble. That's I think interest rates are going to go higher. I think, you look at the trend. How can you bet against that trend? Now, the other thing is that maybe you're not going to own the property that long. That's another option. I think we're going to be higher for a lot longer. Higher for a lot longer. That's just my expectation. Could I be wrong? I could be wrong. I'm probably not wrong. All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. I hope you enjoyed the show. You have a great day. Go make some money. Thank you, Rob, for your comments.